Okay, I know it sounds crazy, but please hear me out. I know people say it's hallucinations because you missed your loved ones, but this is not that. It started when I was 4 and my Auntie Pat died from lupus. Before my mom told my brother and I the news, I saw my auntie. She came in my room while I was watching TV and sat on my bed and rubbed my hair. She had just done my braids and it wasn't uncommon for her to come around any time, so I assumed she was visiting. She walked out of the door and I found it weird that she hadn't spoken, but I was 4, so I left it alone. I only remember this vividly because the next morning my mom told us she had died the previous afternoon. After I asked her why she visited last night, she looked shocked and told me I was dreaming. This has happened to me with every loved one since. I've lost several aunties and uncles, my 2-year-old cousin, my grandpa, my great-grandpa, my best friend, and several close friends since then. Every time, they come to me and sit quietly before leaving. The next day, or even a few hours later, I always get news that they've passed. The most recent was my baby's father, who I had last seen in January. I live in an apartment now, and when I saw him standing at my room door on May 22nd, I knew he was dead. He came and sat with me, holding my hand and kissing my forehead, and when he left, I broke down, knowing once again someone I loved would be leaving me. I got the call a few hours later around 5 in the morning. He had passed at 12 a.m., and I saw him at 2 a.m.
So basically, last house we lived in was pretty creepy, to say the least. Quite a few unexplained things happened there. But there was no one experience that really stood out to me and will always be imprinted in my brain. My mother had gone out, so it was only me, my brother, and sister in the house. Well, so we thought. My sister was around 4 or 5 at the time. She could be pretty forgetful, and forget my mother had gone out, so casually shouted, "Mom!" in a question sort of tone. I swear to God, I heard clear as day this perfect, "Yes," response in my mother's voice. I was pretty confused and thought maybe she got back early, but looked out the window and her car was still gone. I ran downstairs and asked my brother if he had heard that. He said he had also heard it. My sister was pretty confused. She heard it as well. She was about to go looking for our mother after she heard that voice, thinking it was her. I'm just glad she didn't. Whatever that was it potentially trying to lure her or something? Somewhere. I thought I was hearing things, but after my brother and sister heard it too, I was certain that was some sort of entity cloning our mother's voice. She got back like 20 minutes later, and we told her about it. She was as confused as we were. To this day, I still question what that was.
I was about 5 the first time I remembered. My parents had claimed that toys would play without batteries, and my mom was paralyzed in bed with a skeleton leaning over her. But that was after they changed rooms with me, because I still remember clearly a giant white face coming out of my wall and speaking garbled language. I couldn't understand, so I asked my mom, and of course, she was freaking out. Next is a more recent one. A year or 2 ago, I was in the bathroom at about 3:46, and there was a banging on the bathroom door, and being the scaredy cat I was, I left it open just a crack. So I peeked through and saw a freaking tentacle slithering away. The next morning I called my grandma, and she said the night before, my 5-year-old cousin said he saw a big statue with tentacles coming out of the ceiling above his bed. When I went to Colorado, they had us use dowsing rods on a ghost tour, and I asked if Slender Man was real. I don't want anyone to freak out because this is real, but So is Slenderman, fellas. Another one, that is 1 or 2 years, is my baby sister would start screaming when we tried to go in the hallway because of the black dogs in there. Nah, fam, that's too much for me. Final story. My mom said it's an ancient Indian demon, and I know this all happened because my great-great-great-grandma got cursed by a witch. The demon that I like to think was a Wendigo would always call my name. Malachi, spooky, or if it wanted me to come to it, would sound like my mom or grandma. When I was waiting to get picked up outside of school, I was the last one when I heard my mom yell my name. Malachi Jackson. I was glad she was there, but she wasn't. It also happens in my house. I brought this up to my 7th grade Spanish teacher who believes that stuff, and she said 100% Wendigo. She's like, they live in the woods, and thinking back, the school that I went to used to be near the woods. My house, same scenario. If you have read this far, I pray you believe, because I'm not trying to scare you or trick you. I just want the world to know and understand that us even existing is insane, so God could easily let ghosts and monsters exist. I want the world to know, but not to be afraid. They feed off fear and energy. There are some ghosts that aren't real. They can look like people or black clouds, but they are just negative energy. That's why it happens mostly when people are mad or fight. My mom moved a bottle with her mind because she was in a fight with my ex-stepdad, and I focused for hours and only did it once. Please believe. If you don't, it's okay. Bye, friends.
So, my old friend who I was in the army with recently moved in with me, as well as his wife and 2 kids. Lately, we've been losing stuff. It seems as though all of us have either had something moved somewhere it should not be, or just disappear entirely. I'm looking for help with this. In order, these are the things that happened. 1. An old pair of army winter boots I had for the deep snow. I live in part of a country where there is a lot of snow, and I had my wife go grab the boots out of our storage locker. I wore them exactly 1 day, and they disappeared the next day. Nowhere in sight. 2. My wife's cell phone vanished from her bedside table while we were sleeping. We've tried tracking it, calling it, everything we could think of, but it's nowhere to be found. 3. My friend had his very, very expensive Xbox controller go missing from the couch overnight. Also, I had a t-shirt of his I'd been holding on to for some time, as this is the first time we've seen each other in several years. That's gone too. I took it out of the closet overnight to give to him in the morning. Poof, gone. Number 4, friend's wife lost her makeup kit. This woman is very into makeup, so it is a very big deal to her. 5, the children have both apparently lost toys that were very special to them. Here one day, gone the next. Now, my friend said the first day he moved in with me that he felt something off with the house. Later that day, he claimed to seen a ghost moving towards the bathroom and then vanishing. I have full belief in his tale, as at almost this exact day, a year prior, I observed a ghost while working security at a local hotel. Funny enough, I texted the same friend that had seen it and completed my patrol route. As soon as I finished and returned to the lobby, the hotel's general manager was having some fun with 2 new employees, explaining to them that the hotel was haunted. I agreed, and I stated I had just seen a ghost, a woman in white who looked more like fog than flesh, and they assumed I was in on the joke, until that is, I showed them the message to my friend over an hour prior about seeing it. Anyway, I have full belief in the paranormal. My father passed away at a very young age, and I've always had a connection to the other side of the coin. My religious tendencies are near those of Native Americans in this area. I'm very naturalist. I am worried that when I went hunting for the first time in my life this year and killed a deer. I didn't thank the spirit well enough. Either that or some sort of other entity is screwing with us. Upon smudging the house today, we almost immediately discovered the controller. Well, hidden in a closet. Way too high for the children to have placed it. As well as a missing shirt, deeply buried under piles of bags in one of the bedrooms. Bags too heavy for the children to move. Frankly, I'm flabbergasted. Also, I want my boots back. Can anybody give me advice? Hi, it's Curious Raven. I will say that the other thing that you could try is going to the woods where you killed your first deer and offer the spirits of the land some tobacco, because that is what Native Americans would trade that has worked for people. You want to thank them again, for the spirit of the animal, and thank the animal for their spirit, and then trade with them. You apologize, and you meant no disrespect. I hope that helps.